right now, Bitcoin is not only holding, but now going up. This is the best case scenario. We no longer have all the selling pressure. Everyone that was panicking, everyone that decided to cut their losses, decided to sell at a loss, decided that this is not for me, seems like they're all gone. They all left. There's no more. All the short-term sellers, short-term investors, they're all gone. What's left are the long-term holders. The long-term holders that have been in it for years, we're not going to be selling because we bought, and our dollar cost average cost is way lower than where it is now, because obviously even Bitcoin at 84,000 is higher than where it was a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, right? So this doesn't really affect us. So obviously the long-term holders are not going anywhere. The newer whales that are loading up, they're not going anywhere because they're loading up for the future. And the new institutions, they're doing the same thing. They're loading up for the future because they now recognize Bitcoin is the best asset to hold, and they're not going anywhere. They're the ones that were playing the games earlier this year and last year, trying to drive people out so they can accumulate more. So basically, everyone, it seems like, it's early. We'll see how bad the markets get, but right now it does seem like seller exhaustion is here. All the lettuce hand short-term investors are gone. And what we're left with are the long-term hardcore investors that believe, and the new institutional investors and the big whales that are just loading up. And that's why we have found our footing. And now, on a day like today, when Dow is minus 2,000 plus and everything is crashing, Bitcoin is going up. Think about that. Bitcoin is going up on a day like today. You can't have any better than that. GameStop. Okay, GameStop recently announced that they were going to, well, actually they got the approval from the board that that they're going to start buying Bitcoin. Okay, they just raised $1.5 billion from their convertible notes sale, and now they're ready to buy $1.5 billion worth of cash, and they could be buying anytime. So they basically took the playbook from Saylor, raised a whole bunch of money, and they're getting ready to buy. And they can continue to do this. Keep in mind, Saylor just bought $2 billion yesterday, and he continues to buy more and more and more and more. Saylor already owns more than 2% of the supply, probably more than 3% at this point. And someone like GameStop obviously can continue to do this as well. And many others can continue to do this too, like Metaplanet, for example. Just added another $67 million to the Bitcoin. They're doing a 10-to-1 stock split because their stock is so hot, and their overall plans to add 21,000 Bitcoin by 2026. So many are doing this. And this is very encouraging, very positive, right, for Bitcoin. Not just because it's GameStop, because we have so much adoption at this point from major publicly traded companies, one after another. And not just from companies, we also have major endorsements now, right, from very influential people. Obviously, Trump, we know Trump is all about Bitcoin. We have a Bitcoin reserve. And now you have the Trump family that is also very, very bullish. Yesterday, I covered how Eric Trump and Donald Trump Jr., they're working with Hut 8, and they're coming up with one of the greatest Bitcoin mining farms there will be. Okay, and today, Eric Trump goes out and says Bitcoin is one of the greatest store of values there is. It's not one of the greatest store of values. It is the greatest store of value. I've been saying this time and time again. Just look at the performance of Bitcoin. You go back a year, you go back 2 years, you go back 3 years, you go back 5 years, you go back 10 years. Nothing outperforms Bitcoin in the long run. That's why it's the greatest store of value, is the greatest hedge against inflation. If you're looking at it week to week, day to day, month to month, sure. Okay, there will be better performers. But if you expand your time horizon, you'll realize that Bitcoin is the best investment there is because of the scarcity factor and because it is the greatest. It's decentralized. It's not controlled by anyone or any entity or any country. No one can stop it. There are so many inherent greatness or good things about Bitcoin that makes it so good, right? So despite all the stuff that's happening right now, we still have a lot of accumulation. In fact, right now, we have long-term holders that are buying so much they're offsetting the sellers, the short-term sellers, right? We see this often. Short-term retail investors or just short-term investors, the ones that bought within the last few months, they bought at top. They're not aware of what's happening. They're panicking, and whenever there's bad news, they tend to sell. Some on Wall Street are selling. They don't like what they're seeing. They're afraid of the tariffs. For whatever reason, there are a lot of people that are selling. But the long-term investors, the ones that understand, and plus the new institutions, the new companies like GameStop now and MetaPlanet and many others, the ones that understand, they're loading up. That's exactly what's happening. That's why Bitcoin remains strong and it will get through this. It always does. It gets through all the volatility, all the consolidation, all the negativity, um, and it just gets through. It always does. So just look at it, right? We go through a lot of these fuddish times. You can call them bear traps because eventually what happens is we get through them and we form a new high. So essentially they are bear traps because it makes the bears think that, hey, this is a good time to short. This is a good time to spread some FUD. But eventually what happens is Bitcoin picks itself back up and forms a new high, and it always does. Right now it's one of those times because of the macro conditions, because of the tariff, all the tariff scariness, all the stuff that's happening, right? But we'll get through it and continue forward. There are a lot of great things happening, a lot of accumulation. I also saw this too, Tether. A lot of people do not know that Tether uses a portion of their profits every quarter to buy Bitcoin. And they make so much money. They buy a crazy amount of Bitcoin every single quarter now. They just bought close to 9,000 Bitcoin this last quarter, and now they hold 7.8 billion in Bitcoin. They bought close to 800 million this last quarter.